What up, world? R.I.C.H coming right back at you. Today we talking about one of the most influential, misunderstood figures to ever touch a basketball. Allen Iverson. The man who turned struggle into style. The man who made hard look like a superpower. AI, the answer, the culture, the energy. And now, at 50 years old, he's telling his story his way. His new book, Misunderstood, isn't just a memoir. It's a confession. It's a letter from a legend who finally found peace. He said, "You think you know me, but you have no idea." And that right there, that line is the whole book in one sentence. Because for years, the world spoke for Allen Iverson. But now, for the first time, he's speaking for himself. He talked to CBS this week, and he said he's been sober for 6 months. He said one of the best decisions I ever made was to stop drinking.
One of my best decisions that I ever made in my life was to stop drinking.
What was that?
6 months now.
Wow.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Better than I did when I was doing it. When you get drunk, you're not how you usually are. The more and more I see it on other people, the more and more it makes me happy about the decision. And the more and more I see how the people around me appreciate it, I love it.
This ain't just a personal win, it's a testimony. Because AI been fighting his whole life. Courts, critics, his demons. But now he's fighting for something bigger, clarity. And when a man finally finds that, you listen. He said when you get drunk, you're not how you usually are. And bro, that hit hard because I've been honest about my struggles with addiction. And we all know somebody living that truth. He ain't hiding behind his excuses no more. He's grown into a place where he can own his own story without shame. And when you hear him speak now, it's different. He's not defensive, he's grateful. That ain't the same Allen Iverson who was yelling practice. This is a man who practiced surviving and came out clean on the other side.
Former Sixers star Allen Iverson is reflecting on his life and career in Philadelphia nearly 15 years after stepping away from the game. Tonight, Iverson spoke with fans at Theater of Living Arts on South Street about his new memoir called Misunderstood. He talked about how his look changed NBA fashion and why he had such a connection with his fans.
All they care about is the effort, and you know what I mean. That was right up my alley because I play every game like it's my last, and I know the fans respected it because they knew that number 3 played harder than anybody out there tonight. Guys were wearing suits and all that. After the game, you know what I mean, at the arena, I'm going to Fridays. I'm going to the club. Where am I going to where I got to wear a suit?
A little joke about how Iverson spent time at the TGI Fridays on City Line Avenue. We used to see him there quite a bit. Iverson's memoir is now in bookstores. It's called Misunderstood.
But let's be clear. Allen Iverson never needed to be redeemed to be loved because he never lost his people. He lost his narrative. And that's what this book is about, taking it back. He's rewriting his own legacy, not as a superstar, but as a survivor. See, AI was never just a baller. He was a mirror, a reflection of a generation that felt misunderstood too. In a league that wanted clout, corporate-friendly faces, he came in with tattoos, braids, and an attitude. He walked into the NBA like, this is me, take it or leave it. And for a lot of black men watching, this was the first time we saw ourselves in a jersey. Not the polished version, the real version. He didn't just bring hip-hop to the NBA, he brought truth. And that made the world uncomfortable. The media called him a thug, a problem, a headache, but what he really was honest. He said what he felt, and he played every game like it was his last. And that's why his name still rings in every locker room today. You ask any young player who inspired them, they're gonna say Kobe, they're gonna say Jordan, but somewhere in that mix, they always mention Iverson because AI was the blueprint for hard. He was 6 foot, 165 pounds, but he played like he was 6'9", with a 7-foot wingspan. He was the Lil Wayne of basketball. Small frame, big impact. And like Lil Wayne, he opened the door for a new generation to be themselves. That's his real legacy, freedom. He didn't just redefine basketball. He redefined what being black with success looked like. He made it cool to be yourself in front of millions. When you saw AI, you saw the tension between what America expected and what we really are. That's why they couldn't handle him. But what they missed was that beneath the chains, beneath the tattoos, he was just a young man craving love. A man who grew up in poverty, faced prison, and still made it to the Hall of Fame. Sometimes the toughest men are the ones who've been hurt the deepest. And that's why AI's story matters, because it's our story too. Iverson didn't just cross over defenders. He crossed over the culture. He made the NBA look, feel, and sound different. Before AI, the league was suits and smiles. After AI, the league was beats, braids, and belief. He showed up with chains, tats, baggy jeans, and an energy that said, I'm not here to fit in. I'm here to stand out. and the world didn't know what to do with it. His swag wasn't just clothes, it was culture. It was hip hop walking into that arena. David Stern saw it and said, we need a dress code. 2005, the NBA introduced business casual. No chains, no baggy clothes, no hoodies. Let's call it what it is. An overreaction to one man's freedom. They couldn't control his game, so they tried to control his image. But you can't regulate soul. And even with that rule, AI kept being AI. He wore who he was like an armor. And he took the hate like he took the contact in the paint. Absorbed it and scored anyway. Fast forward today, the rule is gone. And every player is dressing like a runway icon. But they all walk through a door Allen Iverson built. Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, Jaylen Brown, Kelly Oubre, they all owe him a thank you. They get praised for expressing themselves, but he got punished for it. Now they call it player fashion. Back then they called it unprofessional. Time reveals the truth. And the truth is, AI wasn't trying to be a rebel. He was just trying to be himself. But in a system built on image control, being yourself is revolutionary. That's why so many young athletes love him, because he represented the courage to be real. And when he said nobody was coming in here like this, he was right. He brought street energy to a boardroom game, and they made millions. Think about it. The same NBA that once banned his look is now partnering with street brands for apparel. AI changed the whole business model without trying. His impact on culture ain't just fashion, it's freedom. It's authenticity in a world built on polished lies. He gave every kid who felt different permission to stay different. And that's priceless. Now let's talk about the game. Because if you ever watched Allen Iverson play, you saw something spiritual. It wasn't just basketball, it was testimony. Every dribble said, I'm still here. He was 6 foot tall, but he played like a Goliath. He drove into the lane against giants and made them look small. The crossover, legendary. It wasn't just a move, it was a message. I can't be stopped. He shook Michael Jordan on national TV. And from that day on, he was a myth. Not because he embarrassed MJ, but because he wasn't afraid to try. The fearlessness is what every guard after him copied. Kyrie Irving, Ja Morant, Damian Lillard, they all got pieces of AI in their DNA. Even the way the guys talk now, the swagger, the confidence, the self-belief, that's Iverson. He taught hoopers that talent without soul is empty. He made too small a myth, and he made passion the standard. In 2001, he won MVP, 11-time All-Star, 4-time scoring champion. He did that in a league built for big men. Every night, they tried to break him. And every night, he got back up. That's why I call him the Lil Wayne of basketball. Small body, God-level impact. AI's game wasn't about size. It was about soul. Kobe Bryant once said, Allen Iverson is one of the toughest men I have ever faced. When Kobe says that, you know it's legendary. AI's impact lives every time a small kid picks up a basketball and thinks he can play with the big boys. That's a legacy money can't buy. When you hear Allen Iverson say he's been sober for 6 months, that hits different, because that ain't just a health update. That's a man saving his life in real time. AI said one of the best decisions I ever made was to stop drinking. And when he said that, it wasn't just about alcohol. It was about ownership. For years, we saw the flash and fire. But what we didn't see was the fights after the lights went out. He went from NBA MVP to tabloid target. And even then, he kept trying to smile through it. But smiling through pain ain't healing. And now AI has finally found the strength to heal. He said when you get drunk, you're not who you usually are. And that line is wisdom. That's a man that's been through it and survived. Because sometimes you got to lose yourself to find yourself. And now he's living in his truth. He said the people around him appreciates it, and he loves that. We often forget these icons we look up to are human beings. And when they finally decide to choose life over escape, that's a W. Allen Iverson ain't hiding behind his old self no more. He's speaking from his scars, not from his wounds. And that's what makes his new book, Misunderstood, so powerful. Because it's not a story of victory. It's a story of survival. It's about a man who fell 100 times and kept getting back up. That's not just inspiration. That's blueprint energy. When he talked about opening his fridge as a kid and only seeing baking soda and roaches, that told you everything. He came from nothing. So when he got everything, he didn't know how to balance it. And that's what a real story is. The press love to talk about his mistakes, but never his growth. But now he's telling his side. He's taking the narrative back. And he's doing it with grace. The beauty of his rebirth is that it's quiet. He ain't shouting, he's just living right. And you can feel the peace in his words. He's finally found the balance between AI the legend and AI the human. Sobriety gave him that. Perspective gave him that. And sometimes the strongest thing a man can do is stop running from his own reflection. He ain't the practice guy no more. He's the purpose guy. And that's what makes this chapter of his life the most powerful. He's showing us that redemption ain't a press conference. It's a process. And when you hear him speak now, you hear a man who found God in his own way. Allen Iverson's legacy can't be measured by trophies and stats. His legacy lives in the soul of the game. Every time a 6-foot guard walks on the court and believes he can beat the odds, that's Iverson. Every time a player rocks cornrows or speaks the truth, that's Iverson. He changed how players dress, walk, how they even think. He made emotion acceptable in an industry built on image. And the craziest part, he never asked for any of it. He just wanted to play ball and feed his family. But sometimes when you're too real, the world ain't ready. That's why his book is called Misunderstood, because the world loved his talent, but never took the time to understand his truth. And that's what he's doing now, closing that gap. He's saying, y'all heard stories about me, now hear mine. When you look at the current NBA, his fingerprints are everywhere. From the way guys express themselves to the way they connect with the culture. AI turned the court into a platform, and that platform turned into a movement. When you think about Lil Wayne, you think about influence. When you think about Iverson, it's the same thing. He redefined cool and made courage look fly. And what he did for the game, you can't put that on the stat sheet, because what he really changed was the soul of the sport. He showed us that you can be yourself and still win, that you can be imperfect and still iconic. And that's why his legacy is forever, not just as a player, but as a person. He's the symbol of a generation that refused to fit in. And now in this book, he's giving us the final chapter of that story. One that's not about basketball. It's about humanity, about growth, and about grace. The truth is, Allen Iverson never needed to be saved. He just needed to be understood. And now he finally is. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe, establish Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.